Hello, Dr. Adenuga here, welcoming you back to ITBS Media. Yesterday we talked about API. We defined what API is, and I described it as a bridge between applications, programs, devices. And we also look at the different methods or the different ways by which API could be vulnerable. The possible weaknesses, we mentioned some of them. We proceeded to look at the expected configuration standard that will ensure the security of APIs. So today we want to continue, as I promised yesterday, that today I'll be going into the lab demonstration. That is exactly what we want to do today. But before we get to that point, I'd like to briefly talk about the types of API, the categorization of API. Before we continue with this, the description, the explanation may not be exhaustive because we're focusing on the lab today, but you can do more research to add more to whatsoever is provided here today. Okay, so let's demonstrating API penetration testing with OWASP Juice Shop. So we want to start with types of API. Then we go to penetration testing. So we're going to look at the categorization of API in two ways. So the first one is by access. So if we're looking at APIs by the way users or systems are able to access these APIs, application programming interface, then we will call some open APIs. And these are APIs that are open to the public, like developers and any user. Let me give you an example. Okay, example is the social media API. Another example is VirusTotal API. If you have accounts, you can have your API and you can use it in your code so that it runs the testing of files, or so to say targets, through what's the name of the API I just mentioned now? VirusTotal, yes. Okay, so that's an open API. Then we have another one that is internal. Internal API are for the organizations, APIs that reside within an organization and enable applications communication within the network of a particular organization or a particular network, a specific network. Those are called internal because they are private, they are not public, they are not accessible to everyone, and they have their specific purpose for which the organization has developed them. Then we have the partner APIs. These are APIs that are shared solely with business partners that need to connect to the organization-specific resource. So if you have, let's say for example, you have a vendor that supplies information about the data breaches so that you can look and see if your other vendor, your third-party suppliers, if they are caught up in the web of data breach, so that you can take the right step to protect your organization from being partaker of the spread of a malware or something like that. So Partner APIs are shared solely with business partners. Then we have the composite APIs. Oh, sorry about this typo. This is when THIS. This is when multiple APIs are combined to provide a solution. So you have API from connecting to a specific database, maybe within the organization. Another API connecting to the server outside of the network of the organization. And another one is connecting to maybe e-commerce place, all for the purpose of providing a particular solution. So APIs can be described in terms of how they are assessed. So we move on to the next one, which is categorization by protocol types. And this is actually the area I would like you to focus your attention on, because this area is very important in your practicals. If you want to do demonstration, you're doing a penetration testing, bug bounty, and things like that, you need to know exactly what this protocol categorization is. So REST APIs, these are the most common type of API used in the web client server communication. So the communication that goes between the client, which is your browser, and the server. The server could be located anywhere. So then we have the remote procedure call, RPC APIs. They are APIs that allow the client's program to execute a procedure on a remote server, as if that procedure is being executed locally within or locally where the developer or whoever is running the code is. So that's about the remote procedure call. So the focus here is that it allows remote operation for network admin, system admin, and others like that. Then we have the SOAP, Simple Object Access Protocol. So there are APIs that use XML and enforce strict rules for sending messages across networked systems. Banks, insurance, telecoms, and governments use it because it is secure. It's a secure API. It requires authentication and other steps that may be taken to protect it. Then we have the graphic APIs. These are APIs that let users request precise data they need without the server just bringing everything that you do not need. So these are the few ones we're going to look at. Now we want to proceed to the lab. So let me now bring up I think I have it here. Yeah. The website we will use is created intentionally to be vulnerable.